What if Pokemon breeding created new Pokemon? That is the question we're going to be answering in this video, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. A lot of people have brought up ideas similar to this over the years, but the crazy thing is, I think it could actually work in a real game, and be insanely cool. The way I see it working is Pokemon could introduce a brand new subset of Pokemon, which I am going to call Descendant Pokemon, where the method of obtaining them is by breeding two specific Pokemon to each other. These would be specific pairs of Pokemon that were curated specifically for this mechanic, meaning that it wouldn't work with just any Pokemon that you throw in the daycare, and would therefore keep the scope of this idea from getting out of control and make it much more realistic. With that said, a great pairing of Pokemon to begin with here is going to be Braviary and Pyroar. It has been recently discovered by Pokemon scientists that when Braviary and Pyroar are brought together, they can actually breed to produce a descendant Pokemon, and that descendant Pokemon is Gruffin, the Griffin Pokemon. These fighting flying types are the subject of folklore and legends in the Pokemon world, because up until recently, the phenomenon of descendant Pokemon hadn't been discovered. Gruffin are known to be very territorial and will guard the areas where they live very fervently. They've been known about in folklore because it's often been said that treasure hunters have been attacked by them, but these stories were often so fantastical that no one actually believed these Pokemon were real. Being a Griffin-based Pokemon is also very intentional here, because another thing about this concept of descendant Pokemon is that they are all based around hybrid animals that are mentioned in myths and folklore. This gives them a very unique identifying trait that can help them stand out, while also allowing them to portray the fact that they are the descendants of other Pokemon, who are often going to be very different to one another. Stat-wise, Gruffin sits at around 350 for their base stat total, with its highest stat being its physical attack, which it takes advantage of with its fighting type. Another thing about descendant Pokemon is that they are also able to evolve, and I would love to cover these evolutions in a future video sometime, so let me know if that's something you would like to see. Finally, just like any other Pokemon, descendant Pokemon also have shinies, and Gruffin's shiny gives it this red and gray color scheme, which I thought was really cool. As the scientists of the Pokemon world have been looking into the phenomenon of descendant Pokemon, they also have discovered another unexpected Pokemon combination. It's been found that when a Lopunny breeds with a Sawsbuck, they are able to produce Hopalop, the Jackalope Pokemon. These fairy normal types live in forests, and as you might expect, they are very rare. In fact, almost none of them exist in the wild because, like other descendant Pokemon, they are exclusively the result of the breeding of Sawsbuck and Lopunny, and they cannot actually breed amongst themselves to increase the Hopalop population. This is similar to real-life crossbreed species like the mule, for instance, who is unable to reproduce due to its genetic makeup, meaning that the only way that you can get a Hopalop as a trainer is to breed its two parent Pokemon together. On a related note, despite being the offspring of two specific parent Pokemon, descendant Pokemon are not a fusion of their parents and have their own unique appearance and typings. This is something about the phenomenon that has baffled the Pokemon world's scientists, and in terms of game design, it's more of an artistic choice, as allowing these to be a unique set of Pokemon that potentially a new game could revolve around just makes them a lot more interesting, and also, in my opinion, helps to keep the idea of Pokemon crossbreeding from getting a little too messy and out of control. Stat-wise, Hopalop is a standalone Pokemon, meaning that it actually does not evolve, and therefore its stats are a little higher at around 475. Uniquely, it also has Poison Touch as an ability, which is in reference to the Shope papillomavirus, a disease in rabbits that gives them horn-like growths and has contributed to folklore about horned rabbits. Finally, this is its shiny, and as you can see, it gains a really nice blue color, which I thought was a good fit. As we get into the next Pokemon, I also wanted to shout out my merch store really quick. You guys have been amazing with the support that you've showed my merch, and I just want to thank you because it really does make a big difference for the channel. I've been working on making some upgrades to my videos recently, and adding stuff like these shiny forms for all my designs, and that kind of stuff is possible thanks to you guys. So if you want to grab a plushie or some cards, you can do so with the link in the description. All the merch is super high quality, and it all helps out a ton. If you'd like, you can also take a look at my Patreon as a way to support as well. The link for that is also in the description, and it offers a ton of cool perks, including complimentary booster packs of my Fakemon cards when you sign up. So yeah, give that all a look, it is super appreciated, and now let's get back to it. For this next Pokemon, we have something pretty special, because it's what you get when you breed a Pyroar with a Gliscor. While working, Pokemon scientists discovered that the DNA structure of these two Pokemon actually appeared as if they could fit together like the pieces of a puzzle. Upon conducting an experiment to explore this possibility, the scientists realized that combining the DNA of these two Pokemon would actually result in a brand new Pokemon altogether, something that had never been previously discovered since these Pokemon are not in the same egg group and were previously thought to be incompatible in terms of breeding. So, a Pyroar and a Gliscor were brought together to test this idea, and it resulted in Manticub, the Manticore Pokemon. As a result of these experiments, Manticub is the first descendant Pokemon to ever be discovered, and its discovery was a monumental moment in Pokemon history that led to the discovery of other descendant Pokemon as well. Manticub is a fire poison type and is actually just the first stage of a 3-stage line. So again, let me know if you want to see those evolutions in the comments, and maybe we can make that happen. As a first stage Pokemon, Manticub's stats sit at about 300, with its specialty being its special attack. When it reaches level 25, it would also learn its own signature move known as Toxic Flare, a fire type move with 70 base power that has a chance to either burn the opponent or poison them, giving it twice as much utility. It also has a pretty special shiny, as it takes on a black and white color scheme that makes it look insanely cool in my opinion. And as the first descendant Pokemon, I imagine it would also kind of be like the mascot for this concept, and you would even be able to obtain it as a gift Pokemon in the hypothetical game where these descendant Pokemon appear, as a way to introduce you to this brand new kind of Pokemon. After hearing about the discovery of Manticub, the scientists in the Kanto region got right to work to see if any of their region's Pokemon had the capability of producing a descendant Pokemon of their own, and they found something. They discovered that Rapidash and Pidgeot are capable of breeding with one another, and when they do, they produce Mysticolt, the Pegasus Pokemon. This fairy flying type was the first descendant Pokemon ever discovered in the Kanto region, which in a way makes it Kanto's 152nd Pokemon, and the first new one ever discovered since Mew. Scientists selected Rapidash and Pidgeot as subjects since they have a regional form and a Mega Evolution respectively, and therefore it was thought that their DNA might be malleable enough to be compatible, which turned out to be the case. As the first stage of a 2-stage line, Mysticolt's stats hover around the 400 mark, with it being fairly well-rounded, but having special defense and HP as its highest stats. It also has a signature ability called Celestial Chariot, which grants it priority in battle whenever it is using a fairy-type move. Additionally, if you get insanely lucky and breed a shiny Mysticolt, you'll end up with a pink one, which feels like it works quite well for this Pokemon. As always, you will have to let me know all your thoughts about these descendant Pokemon in the comments, and if you have any other ideas that you would add to them as well. Be sure to like and subscribe also so you don't miss the next video, and until then, as always, thank you so much for watching this one. I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.